Hello there, welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 737. That is 737 of the Agostinho Zinga show with your host, Agostinho Zinga, and I hope you are doing well wherever this live stream may find you. I hope you are doing really well. How am I? All good, all things considered. I cannot complain. All good, all things considered. I really cannot complain. You know how it is. You know how it is. It's been a while since I last checked in with all of you, so I hope you're doing well. The last couple of days have been a very interesting one. It's still bloody cold over here in London. I'm sure most people are suffering the same sort of level of coldness. But one thing that's still really making me smile or making me laugh or really surprising me is just the genuine lack of people that I'm seeing in the gyms nowadays. I generally do think I think maybe COVID, maybe the pandemic, maybe the lockdown, I think has generally just broken people's will to live. I think the idea of New Year's resolutions, the idea of working out in the new year, a new me, new body, new me, all this sort of even the dry January stuff. I'm not really seeing any promo around that. I'm not seeing people really talking about it on the timeline. I don't know if people are quietly doing the dry January thing and not announcing it, but I'm not seeing a lot of people talking about that on the timeline. I'm not a lot of seeing people in the gyms. I'm not. It just feels like another year. It just feels like just any other month. This could be any other month in any other year, and you have no idea it was January. Whereas I feel like before the pandemic, it always felt like a January. You know, you could kind of feel, okay, this is the beginning of the year. People are being a little bit more stoic. People are maybe deciding to maybe dial back on some of the crazy shit they were doing last year or something. It always felt a little bit like, okay, this time we're starting off a little bit slow and we want to kind of ramp it up, or we're trying to take our foot off the pedal and we're just trying to get things in order, get things in line with our lives, and then we can kind of go crazy later on. But if anything, this just feels like any other month. And the gym for me has been the biggest example of it. Like, I was genuinely worried the first couple of days I was going to the gym. I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to just, stand. Because one of the annoying things about going to the gym, especially for me anyway, I think most people are the same, is when you have to stand around waiting for people to finish on the equipment that you want to use. Because I'm not somebody that wants to communicate. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm just different in this regard, but when I go work out in the gyms, I want to kind of do the opposite that I do when I'm, living my regular life. So I'm not in there to be like, Mr. Personality Man. I'm not there to be like the joker or stuff. I don't want to, get to know anybody. I don't want to have any conversations. I don't even want you to hear my voice. I just want to go there, do my workout, and go home. That's all I want to do. I don't want to do anything else. I want to whack on some tunes, and even when I put my tunes on, I'm kind of disciplined in terms of if I put my tunes on shuffle, I don't really like to touch my phone. Or if I have a mix on, I'll just leave it on until I finish the workout type of thing. I don't want to be on my phone. I don't want to be browsing. I don't want to do anything. I don't talk to anybody. So when I'm in there and the equipment's taken, you kind of you're stuck in that weird position where you're like, should I ask the person when they're going to finish? Should I ask them how much sets they got left? Or should I just figure out another workout, which is already another bit of unnecessary stress you have to kind of think about, because you go in there with one plan you want to do, and now you got to do another plan, which is why nowadays I've always got like 2 or 3 little workouts in mind, because usually, especially in the gym I go to now, because it's a bit bigger and because it's open later, which I've seen, this is a good kind of like example as to why maybe, or not why, but definitely an example and of why places like Berlin and stuff work so well, or other places in Europe in terms of clubs opening hours. This gym I go to is 24 hours, and genuinely, even if somebody's on a bit of equipment that you need, you don't have to wait more than 10 minutes to get on that equipment yourself, like, because there's probably 2 or 3 different stations and people are rotating in and out all the time. So it is the same sort of like example as to people that go to, why people prefer to go to club in places like Berlin, because their clubs are open longer, So you got less people in there, you know, packed during the peak hours, and the people that are in there aren't exactly super fucked up to the point where they can't walk and shit, because they're coming in, you know, all hours of the day, spread across the whole entire weekend. So it helps to kind of alleviate all that stress, you know, all people getting a little bit too mad and whatever it may be. And I think the same thing happens in that gym, so that's a good thing. But still, there are occasions where you go in there and you're like, oh, you're twiddling your thumbs. You're like, damn, man, should I ask this person when they're going to finish? You don't want to da. But the beginning of this year, I never had that issue. The beginning of this year, I never had that issue. There's none of that issue. No one's there. Nobody's there. It feels like any other week or any other day that you'd go there. Nobody is there. And it's been really, really cool to see, but also a little bit sad. Like, it feels like people have either given up, or people's priorities have changed, or the world has just changed and it's never going back to what it was, right? The 2019 world that we all lived in is never coming back again. This is a whole nother reality that we're living in, where New Year's resolutions don't count. People really don't care. They'd much rather just do what they're doing whenever they want to do it and kind of go from there. Because yeah, I've just been really shocked, really shocked by the lack of people that I've seen out there in the gyms, man. It's been kind of sad, I'm not gonna lie, to see in some respects, because it means, like, you know, people are just like, meh, why bother? You know, why bother if I'm gonna I guess there's some level of, like, I won't say under respectability, but I kind of get it. If you're just going to be like, you know what, why bother if I know I'm going to flop anyway? You know, there is something quite, I won't say, is it admirable maybe about that? About, you know what, I know myself well. I know I'm going to flop by day 3. Why even give myself this false hope? Because maybe that's the worst thing, right? Maybe the worst thing isn't that you don't achieve your dreams. Maybe the worst thing is that you give yourself false hope that you're going to change your life and do this really crazy thing. And, you know, whatever, you're going to change careers, you're going to do this, you're going to dump all your friends, you're going to get your life in order, get help. Maybe all these big grandiose plans are the ones that really hurt you the most, because when you fail them, it's almost like you failed yourself, right? And that kind of shit hurts. You're like, oh shit, I failed myself. I didn't, you know, do the things that I said I set out to do. And that's the kind of thing that you can't necessarily, I won't say you can't recover from, but it's hard to kind of wrangle in your brain that is okay, you know? That maybe makes a lot more sense. Maybe that makes a lot more sense. Maybe that is a lot more sense. Maybe, who knows? Who bloody knows? But either way, the gyms are empty. Nobody's in them. New Year's resolutions don't really exist anymore, I don't think. And if anything, maybe people like myself who have goals and ambitions and stuff, we're the weirdos. Maybe I'm the freak. Maybe I'm the odd one. Maybe I'm the delusional one, actually, because I'm actually sitting here believing, you know, that things like that can change when they really can't, you know? Maybe I'm the delusional one. That's the real kicker there, you know? Maybe the delusional one is flipping me. Maybe that's the delusional person out there. The one that actually thinks you can actually change something for the better is the delusional one. What you guys saying in chat? Oh, yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, Don, that's a very, very good point. Don Dutz in the chat is saying, wonder if it's Ozempic has to do anything with the reason people don't go. Yeah, that might be a really good observation there. Maybe the rise in Ozempic has really altered the fitness gym, you know, losing weight, transformation, New Year's resolution world. Because essentially, if you can stab yourself with a little pen, why would you need to work out, right? If you can honestly lose most of the weight that you want to lose and fit into the clothes that you want to fit into, why would you honestly put yourself through working out? Why would you put yourself through the grueling regime of having to wake up at a certain time, you know, put your body under certain bits of stresses, under weight, eat a certain diet, all this sort of nonsense, when you could just stab yourself in the belly a couple of times a week and then all the weight kind of melts off? It doesn't make any sense. Obviously, for me, being a little bit of a, you know, of a vanity freak and also paying attention to all that sort of stuff, there is a big difference between people that lose weight via Ozempic and people that lose weight, you know, the normal, quote unquote, natural, organic way. There is a big difference, especially because I've seen the people that tend to take Ozempic are the people that also don't like working out. So maybe there is a balance. Maybe there is a way to do Ozempic and work out and eat well, where you can kind of not look as deflated. Because something I've realized for people that do Ozempic, they almost look like they're deflated, like someone took all the air out of a balloon or something. That's what it almost looks like. It's just really strange, and they have like that weird Ozempic face where it kind of ages you in the face. I don't know why that is the case. One of the side effects, it kind of ages you in the face. For some reason, your face ages way more than the rest of your body, which is super strange. But yeah, and I also think there is something. There's like there is an what you call it. There's a benefit to just being able to do something really hard, like your brain realizing that that's possible, right? Like change, like rewiring how your brain thinks about things, because one of the hardest things to do really in life, apart from maybe making more money, right? One of the hardest things to do apart from making more money, like actually you work a job now, you get paid 23,000 a year. How do you go from that to 30, right? It's kind of difficult to do, like to just try to figure that out. Like it's very hard to do. People kind of underestimate that. You got a lot of fucking grifters out there, a lot of these fucking stupid, social media entrepreneurs that make you feel as if like money is just lying on the street waiting for you to pick it up. It's not easy to make money. So to go from making 24 grand to then making 30,000 to then making 35 to 40, and then maybe hitting the point where you're reaching 100,000 a year, that's not difficult to do. It's not easy to do. But when you do figure it out, it does give you a lot of self-confidence when you're able to maybe hustle, you're able to maybe go, do some extra courses, get some better accreditation, maybe bounce around from different jobs and improve your CV, and then little by little apply for better jobs, and then kind of get to a point where maybe you don't get past the first stage, but then next time you get down to the last 5 or the last 2. All these things can be really good for your self-confidence and kind of rewiring your brain. But one of the best things is definitely like changing your body, right? Going from skinny to fucking muscular, going from fat to fucking skinny, or whatever it may be. That can really help you in your life in ways that you probably don't realize. So that's probably where you miss out on Ozempic. You kind of miss out on that component, because obviously, it's just something you do with stabbing yourself with a pen. You don't really get the benefits of like rewiring your brain to tell yourself, oh, look, I can do way more than I think I'm capable of doing. You know what I mean? When I put my mind to something, look at what I can actually do. Look at the amazing things I can achieve, blah, 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 blah. It's really, and obviously there is a lot of, benefit for other people too, who are maybe watching you from afar, who probably you don't really know, who are kind of who are there looking up to you for your example, because they've seen you at your fattest, because sometimes you don't even realize how chunky you are until maybe somebody else points it out. So maybe they're looking at you thinking, oh my god, that's amazing. So you get to inspire loads of people, you get to rewire your brain, and you also get to kind of tell yourself that, you can do all things if you kind of put your mind to it. Those type of things are not things you should probably, discount as just a minor thing. Those are really big things. So that goes to show you that maybe the Ozempic thing, as much as it's been a net positive probably for a lot of people out there, because there are some people out there who are just never going to work out anyway, and I do have sympathy for it. And I think those people should get the option to look hot and sexy one time in their life. I think that's really is beneficial for them, definitely, for sure. But I think for the majority of people out there, it's probably necessary to put yourself through some level of, discipline, some level of pain, some level of hurt, to get to that point where you look amazing in clothes or naked, so that you can tell yourself, hey, you can do a lot more than you think you're capable of. That probably is the best way to go about things. But what do I know when it comes to this sort of stuff? What do I know? Not that much. So what I've been doing over the weekend, I've been watching Reacher. watching Reacher, enjoying Reacher, every bit of it. And season 2 has been probably one of my favorite seasons, or not one of my favorite seasons because it's only fucking 2 seasons long, but definitely has started off really well. I was a bit nervous when season 2 started off, because it almost felt like they were going to do a little bit of the I forgot what the flipping show was on Netflix, but it almost felt like they were going to try to take the attention away from Reacher and make it about his team, maybe make it about some of the female members of his team, because some of these shows, they have a tendency to, whatever reason, because it's maybe more male centric, the second season, now all of a sudden the girls are the baddest ones in the team. It's just annoying. But that wasn't the case. If anything, season 2 has been more so of a celebration or an acknowledgement or a reminder of how important it is to have a team, especially for a character like Reacher, who essentially is a bit of a lone wolf and kind of prefers his own company. For him to kind of realize that he can't do everything on his own, even though he's a badass and he's super strong, super big and shit, and he can fuck most people up. He does need a team to help him do certain things. And obviously it kind of shows you the benefit of having that team and how they're able to kind of, you know, counteract some of the things that they're kind of going through. And obviously some of the setbacks that come along with it, with putting yourself out there and maybe getting betrayed and getting let down or whatever it may be. But in general, I love the idea of kind of the reminder, obviously, of how important it is to have a team, especially in a place like the army and stuff, right? And how it is with your flipping comrades in the field and whatnot. And I've really flipping enjoyed this season. There's been a lot of different sort of lines or kind of, you know, themes that could kind of go down. A lot of plots they've probably not explored as much as I would like, but I think it's been a big improvement from season one. I think the fight scenes are great. I think the dialogue is really awesome, especially because, you know, Reacher's character is quite deadpan, a little bit stoic, a little bit quiet. I think they've done a good job in terms of fleshing out some of the other characters to make the show a little bit more compelling to watch outside of just the action scenes. I think they've done really well with that. And I think it's progressing and building up to a big crescendo at the end really well, because I'm all but certain, I think most people that are watching it, it's all but obvious that there's going to be a big death at the end. I don't know who it's going to be, but there's going to be a big death. You can almost feel it in your bones. It's coming. Somebody's going to tragically pass away, and it's going to flip and break your heart. But I can definitely feel it on the horizon. But I really am enjoying Reacher. Incredible TV series. Again, easy to watch. I think they're calling it Dad TV because of just how fun and lighthearted it all is. I think if you're a fan of, you know, again, thrillers, you're a fan of action, you're a fan of good fight scenes, I do recommend you check it out. I really do recommend you check it out. One show I don't recommend you check out is Echo. There's this Marvel TV series called Echo. The protagonist is like this deaf girl who also is an amputee. She's got like a leg, you know, a leg that got blown off. I think she had a car accident, so she's got a prosthetic leg or whatever it may be, and she's deaf, but she's also like a martial arts, you know, combat expert or something, right? And I have to admit, it's absolutely terrible. I think the premise behind it is that she's Native American, so she's got these spirits in her or something that harken back to the, you know, to the old times, and gives her these weird powers or something. But oh my god, the woman is so unlikable, and it's so interesting because she's actually deaf. The actual actress herself is actually deaf as well, so it's not even like she can actually talk, but the character is so unlikable. She's so hard to root for. She, you know, recklessly gets people killed. She doesn't seem to have any care or respect for people. There's this weird thing as well, like in this show, it starts off by showing you like how, you know, her origin story, right? Of how she kind of becomes a superhero. And basically it kind of starts off with her living in this place and being friends, you know, with this other young girl in her area, and then they have to move. I don't know why they have to leave. I forgot what the reason is, but she kind of leaves her friend behind her, but they're best friends. And then for some reason, when she's older, she just completely forgets about that best friend. She goes back to the town for, you know, for some unfinished business and to catch the killers of her dad and all this sort of nonsense. The girl lives in that town, and for an entire series, I was like, why didn't she just go back and say hi to her friend? Like, I couldn't figure out why the friend was like being ignored. Why she was so angry at her. Like, it wasn't explained. Like, what did the friend do to you? Because the last scene you see of the friend is that kind of iconic scene in most series where the kid kind of, one kid, you know, two best friends, and one kid has to move, and then you see the scene of the kid running down the street like, oh my god, stay, come back, whatever. That's all you see. Like, that's one of the only scenes you see between them. So I was like, when did the conflict happen? Why have they quote unquote fallen out? And it just seemed odd because she had all this like anger and aggression and frustration against this other friend. I think her name's Abby, and there was no reason for it. It just seemed a bit, you know, it just seemed a bit like, it didn't seem the frustration was placed in the right place. It was odd, misplaced aggression and frustration. It was very bizarre. Then throughout the entire series as well, you know, it's a girl and she's fighting these big men, and she's obviously got, you know, she's obviously got a prosthetic leg, and you're like, come on, Really? Like, and again, I'm not that. I don't want to be that guy because I watch a lot of fucking, mission. I watch a lot of I'm a big Tom Cruise Mission Impossible franchise fan, right? And I watch a lot of thrillers and action movies that aren't the most realistic. But come on, the girl's deaf. She's got one leg, and you're telling me she's beating up all these dudes with no real discernible superpowers apart from what her really high level MMA skills. Come on, brother. Come on. Come on. And she's deaf too. Okay, cool. All right, all right, all right. Whatever you say. There's a scene with a daredevil in it, which is cool, I guess. Not really that interesting. She somehow gets the better of Daredevil, and he kind of has to run away because he's ashamed. Um, and then there's what you call it? I forgot his name. Lex Luger character in there too from Left. He's a little bit. I won't say he's neutered, but he's a little bit tame compared to the one that we know from before. I don't know. I just don't know. It's just fucking terrible. Like, it's just really bad, really fucking bad, and it's odd because Echo's got quite decent reviews online. If you go on like I don't know, IGN or a few of those other places. I don't know. Maybe IGN is not a good example because maybe they're a little bit more left leaning and stuff. But it does have quite decent reviews online if you check it. But if you actually watch it, it's not really good. Like, again, the main actor is really annoying. Most of the show is kind of done obviously via sign language because obviously the main character is deaf herself, which is decent enough, I guess, for people who are actually deaf. It's probably nice to have that level of accessibility, but it's quite hard to kind of follow it. Like, the dialogue is a bit like labored because of it. It's just, I don't know, it's just unnecessary. I don't know why this exists. It doesn't do anything really. The action scenes aren't believable. None of the characters you want to root for, from the grandmother to the main actress to the friends to the weird guy psychics that she has. Like, it's just odd. It's an odd TV series. I didn't understand it. Again, another fail when it comes to these Marvel TV shows. I don't even know if it's worthy of a 2 out of 10. If it's a 1 out of 10, whatever it is, I do recommend you probably don't watch it. It's fucking shit. It honestly is absolutely terrible. And yeah, I don't know how. Like, I had to spend, especially the last few episodes, I spent just fast forwarding bits. I couldn't sit there and watch the whole thing. I was like, I can't get put myself through this. I just fast forward most of the bits. I was like, by the end, I was like, oh, is that how it ended? Okay, cool, whatever. She gets some like uniform that she wears, like she looks like a gladiator. She kind of looks like a wrestler or something, right? She gets given this outfit that she has to. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just it's pants. It's fucking pants. And again, she's got no superpowers, but she can beat up everybody. It's like, huh? Okay, cool. Whatever you say. Whatever you say. One show that is absolutely amazing is For All Mankind. Season 4 just wrapped up. For All Mankind season 4 has just wrapped up, and it legitimately is one of the best TV series, especially within the sci-fi genre, that I've seen in a hot minute. It's absolutely fantastic. It ended amazingly strong, and if anything, I think this show is kind of feels like a prequel, oddly enough, to the shit that happens in the Expanse. You know, with the whole Belter and stuff, right? With this whole beef between Mars and Earth and shit, it kind of feels like, if you think about it, For All Mankind could also be a prequel to The Expanse. It kind of could be the same sort of, thing in terms of, fighting for the resources, putting money on things, the battles, the politics. Like it's really fucking good. I really recommend you check it out. It ended incredibly well. The plot lines are tying together really well. I would have wished they would have maybe explored more this idea that maybe there might be life on Mars and shit. That might be absolutely great. I love that maybe the next season we're gonna get some really telling things happen, especially now that, spoiler alert, the asteroid is being kind of more geared towards what do you call it, the orbit of Mars, as opposed to go back to Earth, so they can mine that and shit. That's going to be quite great to see. And yeah, man, some obviously tragic deaths happen throughout the entirety of the show, which you probably have to check out to see yourself. But I think it is actually one of the better sci-fi shows I've watched in a fucking long fucking time. So if you're a fan of sci-fi like myself, I really recommend you check out For All Mankind, available on Apple TV and of course most places where you watch stuff online. But I do recommend, please, for the love of God, you check out For All Mankind. For All Mankind is absolutely incredible viewing. I do recommend you check it out. I really, really do. Next on the list, we got this regarding The Verge. The Verge put this article together, and I've actually checked out the video myself. But obviously CES happened the other day, and a lot of kind of cool gadgets kind of popped up there. I think I should have actually spoke about that flipping tripod. There's a really cool tripod that some company made. I think it's Belkin or something. Essentially, it can auto track you. So it's a tripod that you can use your phone with, and essentially, if you're doing like content online, like YouTube, TikTok, whatever it may be, and you want to record, yourself, I don't know, cooking, dancing, whatever you're doing online, it can actually like follow your movements. It can track you. Like, it's absolutely amazing little tripod, which I think a lot of content creators like myself, or maybe others that do more of that kind of portrait style content shit, will probably be on top of getting. But one thing that I really liked was this AI gadget that this company called Rabbit have put out, called the R1. I'm not too sure if you guys have seen this. It's really flipping cool. The first thing I love about it is just the design. It's made by this company called Teenage Engineering, who are known for making really, amazing, bespoke, super, really well made and designed audio equipment, basically like speakers and whatnot. They've got a really cool set of headphones also. So this company called Rabbit, AI company, partnered up with Teenage Engineering to put together this kind of, this unit. Maybe it's like a smartphone S type of phone, but essentially it's like a digital companion, essentially, right? It's like a companion for yourself, or an AI assistant, for lack of a better term. But the really amazing thing about it is that, if I'm not mistaken, this is more of an assistant, because it actually has the ability to actually finish tasks for you. So it's not just something about gathering information. It's actually got a language learning model that allows you to actually kind of book an Uber, to be able to kind of, ask the assistant to flip in, get you a pizza, and just, and decide which one that they should probably get to you based on your taste and your interests, to recommend certain things. It can kind of follow through the entire thing in terms of just kind of giving you bits of information. You have to prompt it. It can kind of definitely give it to you along the way. And I do like how the interfaces work through. The interface works like a walkie-talkie, where you essentially press this button here on the side, and then you can kind of prompt, the AI assistant, and then kind of speak to it in your normal voice. You don't have to use a special Hello Rabbit type of thing. You don't have to speak in a certain cadence. You can just ask the questions that you want to ask, and obviously, the Rabbit can respond the way it responds. But I've got a clip here that I clipped from the actual long presentation itself, of the founder actually talking about it, that can give you a better idea of how it kind of works. So let's play the clip here so you can see why I'm so excited about this R1 AI assistant, and why I'll probably end up getting one myself, because this is really flipping cool. I'm not going to lie.
For services and logging through them to get authenticated on your device. It's that easy. Now, let's play some music. Play Kraftwerk's Pocket Calculator.
Playing Pocket Calculator by Kraftwerk for you.
Play another song from the album.
Sure, playing Computer Love for you.
That's all the tracks from the same album. Who wrote the lyrics for this song?
Ralph Hutter and Emil Schult wrote the lyrics for the song Computer Love by Kraftwerk.
Which band sampled this song?
It seems that Coldplay's Talk is the only known example of a song that sampled Computer Love.
What do you think about this song?
Computer Love by Kraftwerk.
Yeah, big up Culture Drop.
Yo, big ups. Happy you could join me and the fam on some Saturday errands.
Oh yeah, big up Chocolate Drop. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining the stream as well. Big up the fam. Hope the errands go well, my thing. Big up, big up. Thank you for the super chat.
Is widely regarded as a groundbreaking and influential song in the realm of electronic music. Its fusion of catchy melodies, robotic vocals, and innovative use of synthesizers has left a lasting impact on the genre.
I can also use R1 to call a ride. Get me a ride from my office to home now.
Of course, I will book an Uber ride for you from your office to your home. Please confirm the ride.
I have 6 people with 3 luggages. Find me an Uber that can fit all of us.
For 6 people and 3 pieces of luggage, I recommend booking an Uber XL, as it provides ample space for all passengers and luggage. Please confirm the ride.
The red shows up, I just hit confirm. The Uber's on my way. I can also use R1 to order food. Get me a 12-inch pizza from Pizza Hut delivered to here. The most ordered option on the app is fine.
Ordering a 12-inch pizza from Pizza Hut. Since you mentioned that the most ordered option is fine, I will select that for you. I just created an order for a 12-inch pizza. It's going to be hand-tossed with a classic marinara sauce and topped with regular cheese. Please confirm your order.
That sounds really good. I just confirmed the order here. Choose your preferred services and log in through them.
So, as you can see, what makes this really amazing is that, as somebody pointed out in the chat, the founder himself has a very thick accent, and he's able to basically, tell the AI what he wants to be done, and the AI completely understands it without him having to speak in a certain cadence, speak very slowly, use certain prompt words. It kind of understands his quote unquote natural language, which is one of the key things that I kind of like about it. The other thing that I also love about it is the fact that the hardware itself is pretty plain. It kind of is meant to sort of replace your phone. I guess if you wanted it to, technically, if you could just make this an app. But I do love the idea that it kind of takes away from your phone and that level of distraction, because I think in general, this, as much as the smartphones aren't the issue, it's obviously the apps and the social media side of things that just make them a little bit of a time sink, right? They make them really hard to sort of like put away. They make them really hard to sort of focus on task and kind of live your life in whatever it may be. I love that the fact that this AI assistant is there for you when you need an assistant, but it isn't meant to be something that you just stand there using all the fucking time, right? That's not the thing that it kind of works. It kind of works better because it just basically uses itself as an assistant, and that's basically most of the main kind of prompts that I sort of like about it. And of course the design itself, the fact that it's got this kind of cool walkie-talkie design where you can kind of press the button here on the side and raise it to your mouth and speak to it as well. I love that that kind of changes the utility of using it itself. It's not just kind of like a standard sort of smartphone design with the same sort of like rectangular square thing with a touchscreen. It just requires a different sort of type of vibe. I think that kind of changes how you use it on a day-to-day basis. But let's actually read a bit of the article here on The Verge that kind of gives a little bit more of blood of what it kind of is about. And also the price itself, $199 is also really, really good. It says here, Jesse Liu, the CEO and founder of AI startup Rabbit, says he doesn't want to replace your smartphone, at least not right away. His company new gadget, the $199 standalone AI device called the R1, is so staggeringly ambitious that Liu seems to think he can't help but replace your phone at some point, just not quite yet. Oh shit, they're already sold out. As of the 10th of January, Rabbit announced the 10,000 units of the R1 has already sold out, and now it's making pre-orders for the second shipment in spring. Amazing. The R1 looks like a little playdate console, or maybe a modernized version of the 190s era handheld TV. It's a standalone gadget of half the size of an iPhone with a 2.8-inch touchscreen and a rotating camera for taking photos and videos, and a scroll on a wheel button to press and navigate around and to talk to the device on a built-in assistant. It has 2.3 gigahertz mid-tech processor, a 4 GB of memory, and 128 GB of storage, all inside of a rounded body, designed in collaboration with design firm Teenage Engineering. All Rabbit says the battery, it lasts all day. I spent a few minutes with the R1 after Rabbit's launch, and it's an impressive piece of hardware. Only one device was actually functional, and even that one couldn't do much because of the spotty hotel Wi-Fi. But the R1 is surprisingly light. It's much nicer than it looks in pictures. Its buttons are clicky and satisfying, which is no surprise from the Teenage Engineering, and the whole thing fits in nicely into my grip. As you can see there for the pictures, it looks fucking beautiful, to be fair. As a piece of design, it looks absolutely incredible there. I'm not gonna lie, it looks really fucking good. What's the screen said in the back here? Way more faster and more intuitive. Teach mode can do things that a phone could never will. And also it's got a camera as well and a touchscreen. The software inside Rabbit is a real story. Rabbit's operating system called Rabbit OS and the AI tech underneath. Rather than ChatGPT like large language model, Rabbit says the OS is based on a large action model. See, that's the main difference. It's a large action model. And the best way I can describe it is that the sort of universal controller for apps. We wanted it to find a universal solution just like the large language models. How can we find a universal solution to actually trigger our services regardless regardless of whether you're a website or an app or whatever platform or desktop, which is the real genius part of it, to be fair. It continues, in spirit, it's an idea similar to Alexa or Google Assistant. Rabbit OS can control your music, order your car, buy your groceries, send your messages, or more, all through a single interface. No balancing apps and loggings, just ask for what you want and let the device deliver. The R1's on-screen interface will be a series of category-based cards from music to transportation or video chats, and Liu says the screen mostly exists so that you can verify the model's outputs on your own. So obviously it's based more on just it's obviously geared more towards you talking to the assistant and obviously getting it to complete your task, as opposed to you browsing around and kind of fidgeting with the touchscreen. The touchscreen dash there is like a confirmation, window or something, or screen itself. And you see here the design in the back. Again, being a bit of a product design freak, I've always been interested in making sure the design of a product is amazing on the front, on the back, and on the inside, and this is obviously proof of it. Like, look how beautiful that looks at the back. You got the little speaker here, you got the little scroll touch wheel thing, you've also got the camera that can flick around. It looks absolutely brilliant at the back as it does at the front. Love it. It continues, rather than build a bunch of APIs and try to convince developers to support the R1 though, Rabbit trained this model on how to use existing apps for itself. The large action model, or LAM, learned what the settings icon looked like, how to know when an order was confirmed, and where the search menus are. All of that, Liu says, can be applied to any app anywhere. The R1 also has a dedicated training mode which can use to teach the device on how to do something, and it was supposed to be able to repeat the action with its own going forward. Liu gives an example. You'll be like, hey, first of all, go to a software called Photoshop, open it, grab your photos here, make a lasso and a watermark, click, click, click. This is how you remove a watermark. It takes 30 seconds for Rabbit OS to process, Liu says, and then it can automatically remove your watermarks going forward. How all this actually works in practice, though, is a real question. You'll be able to do some things with the R1 itself, and there's a web portal called Rabbit Hole through which you can log into your various services, and if you say that teach the device how to use Photoshop, you'll be able to boot one of Rabbit's virtual machines and teach it rather than using your own device or software. But how will it work with other users on devices and platforms will be tricky to get right. Rabbit's approach here is pretty clever. Getting anyone to support a new operating system is tough, even if you're a tech giant, and LAM way subverts that by teaching the model how to use the apps. More broadly, big up Eric C, big up Eric C.
Manchester is blue, blue heart, trophy, blue heart,
actually,
trophy,
what's
blue
the
heart, trophy.
Big up Eric C. What's the score actually? It's actually 2-2, I think, isn't it, right? Last time I checked. Is it 2-2? Against Man City. It's actually it's been quite a good game, I'm not gonna lie. I watched a bit of the first half, and obviously I had to kind of jump on stream here and record the pod. But yeah, it's 2-2 still at the moment. So I guess Manchester is halfway blue. Halfway blue. It's halfway blue, halfway black or white. But big up Eric C. Big up Eric C. Moving on, listening to Liu talk about the Rabbit OS and the R1 though, it's not entirely clear what the company's vision for the device really is. It's not nearly powerful enough to replace your phone, though it can make video calls and does have a slot for a SIM card. It's primarily a voice assistant, but the device has a screen and a camera. It's not just a voice assistant, but it does have a voice assistant things. Rabbit says it has designed Rabbit OS with the security and the privacy in mind. It also is asking you to log in at some point. The R1 in Liu's view, is both a nifty accessory and an all-in future of pretty much everything. That's probably why I think it's great, because I think it's going to evolve over time. I don't necessarily think the fact that they don't know what it's actually going to end up being in the end is a bad thing. I think overall it's going to evolve and people are going to learn how they're going to use it and what the best case scenario is for it, and then over time that will obviously inform what direction the company goes. And I think that's obviously the beauty of having a startup. You can kind of change direction, change course along the way and learn in real time. So I don't think there's any issue with that. I think if anything, this speaks to the bigger conversation around AI and how difficult it is to kind of wrangle as to what the as to how it can be used to its best. Like, what are the actual use cases for using AI? Do you use it mainly as a platform to kind of, start ideas from, right? Like myself, like if I'm thinking of maybe doing a DJ mix, maybe I would go on and, on a chatbot, and maybe, ask the chatbot to put together a list of options in terms of tunes that I may like, that might sound similar to something I was going to play. And that might be a launching off point for me to then dig in and check for other tunes in my library or from my own mind I can think of. Maybe it's a design assistant, right? Maybe it can kind of do some of the laborious kind of heavy work for you when it comes to design, and then some of the creative, free, sort of like expressive shit you can do on your own. Who knows? And maybe the assistant thing's a good thing. Maybe there is a future where AI assistants work hand in hand with smartphones, or maybe you have them separate. Maybe you do have a separate smartphone and a separate AI assistant. Me personally, I prefer that. I would actually love to go back to a world where we had separate. Yo, big up high def. Thank you for super chat, brother. Big up high def. No message there, but big up high def for the super chat. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you for tuning in. I would actually like to go back to a world, and I've said this previously before. I would love to go back to a world where we have separate music players, because I feel like nowadays I don't listen to music just as enough, or as enough as I should, mainly because I'm constantly on my phone and I'm too distracted, checking shit on social media and doing all sorts of other stuff and browsing on the internet. I think I listened to far more music when I had a dedicated iPod that I used to kind of, download music onto and shit all the freaking time, as opposed to being on your phone and, browsing other things and get distracted and all this malarkey, because essentially your phone is one big, distraction device and doesn't really allow you to sort of like do anything else apart from that. Most of the apps that are built on there also are kind of built around the idea, or the main premise behind it is to make sure that you keep their app open for as much as possible. So maybe this whole separate AI assistant thing, whether it's the Humane Pin or these other companies that exist, I actually do like that they are doing this level of thing where it's kind of like it's a separate assistant. Because don't get me wrong, I can understand people who look at this thing and think it's useless. Even I've seen somebody here saying from Z, saying that it looks like an unfinished prototype. I can understand why people feel that way, because the use cases for it aren't really clear. It's not really clear why you would need this, why it couldn't just be an app or whatever it may be. I think I saw somebody even on social media, some guy, I think managed to find a way to boot the entire operating system on like an Apple Watch or something, right? So obviously, clearly, people are like, you know what? I don't like the hardware, but the operating system is pretty cool. I love the AI as well. The large action model is actually something that I would actually want to use. Let me boot it on an iPhone, or let me boot it to a flipping Apple Watch. I understand it, but I actually like it being separate. I like the fact that I have a separate device that isn't my phone, that isn't a distraction machine, and that I could just use as a virtual assistant in the same way, an actual assistant wouldn't tell you, hey, just Google it. If you actually had an assistant that you hired and you wanted to say, hey, could you tell me something, whatever the question is, they wouldn't reply back, just Google it yourself or something. Their whole job is to be the person that kind of, follows through on the stuff that you don't want to do yourself, so that you're free to do other things, that you maybe should be concentrating more on. So I don't really mind that too tough. And again, design wise, I think it's fucking beautiful, and it's just something that, as a tech junkie myself, I would love to just have in hand and own, because that looks flipping cool. That iconic sort of like red color, sort of similar to like the Apple, Project Red thing that they have going on. The click wheel thing, which you scroll around with on the phone here, that's a really cool design. The walkie-talkie button at the side that you press to kind of call on it is pretty cool. And of course the camera as well, I'm a big fan of. So the design wise, I love the the prospect of what it could be, of how it could be used. And I just think the idea of having a virtual assistant in your pocket that could actually finish tasks, that could actually book a holiday, I guess the use case scenario for me would be, booking a spontaneous trip, and it could actually follow through and book the entire thing, from the hotel to the Airbnb to maybe the car hire, to the flight. Everything can be done without you having to kind of be constantly talking to the AI, all the time, and it kind of figuring out certain things is absolutely cool. I fucking love everything about it. I'm not going to lie. That's definitely something that I would definitely use on a daily basis if I actually had it. So big up Rabbit. Love the R1. It looks really, really cool. Cannot wait to see when actual real people end up using it and how it actually works in the real world. Cannot wait to see. Moving on. So I didn't mention this before because I think I maybe just had forgotten. I didn't really know what the flip was going on. But I'm sure most of you guys are aware that Givenchy, no, Alyx founder, sorry, Alyx founder Matthew Williams, who was recently appointed as a Givenchy men's creative director, has unfortunately left, which is an odd bit of news, right? Odd, strange bit of news that he stepped down from Givenchy, because I thought he was doing a pretty decent job there, but obviously he left under a cloud of some level of uncertainty. I'm not too sure if he left because the sale. Yeah, I would say I'm not too sure. I think it's fairly safe to say the reason why he probably left Givenchy is because the sales weren't good, right? They don't really let go. Most of these fashion houses don't let go of a designer if they're, hitting their targets sales wise and whatnot. It just doesn't make any sense. If you're making their money, why would they let you go? So most likely it's a sales thing. But from the time that he started at Givenchy, I think a lot of the fashion people out there weren't necessarily fans of him. I think maybe the way that he designs, maybe his personality, maybe the fact that they weren't big fans of Alyx in the first place. I don't really think he was ever given a fair shot, a fair crack. He was almost kind of, people were kind of rooting for him to kind of fail before he even started, which is, I think, kind of unfair when you compare him to the other people who are maybe a little bit more loved within the fashion space, like, Simon Port from Jacquemus, who I feel like hasn't had a good collection under Jacquemus for maybe, 3 or 4 seasons. It's been pretty shocking, the stuff that he's been putting out, but people don't say nothing because, he's the kind of belle of the dance or whatever it may be. So Matthew Williams gets a lot of unnecessary stick for his stuff at Givenchy, which I thought was really strong. I thought he did a lot of good work in terms of bringing Givenchy men's especially back into the cultural zeitgeist. You had people, especially influencers and a lot of cultural icons and whatever it may be, flying around the world to go and attend flipping Givenchy shows. The campaigns were really good. The runways, the runway collections, or the shows themselves, sorry, were really amazingly well put together also. And I felt, again, he did a good job. If it was for a creative director that has no formal design or formal fashion experience, for him to come into a house like Givenchy and be able to kind of bring it back into the cultural zeitgeist, bring it back into the cultural conversation or the fashion conversation, he did really, really well. So I think he should have maybe got a little bit more time to flesh out his vision. But of course, in the world of fashion, much like in professional football, you don't get time just for the sake of getting time. You have to earn it, right? And every season you start again from scratch. Same with football. Every season you start from scratch. What you did last season doesn't necessarily count. You kind of have to just keep, it's constantly keep improving, constantly keep adding to what you did previously, and constantly just keep breaking records and hope along the way that maybe, just maybe, that may be able to save your flipping job. So there's an exclusive article here courtesy of GQ where Matthew Williams himself here, pictured here in his portrait. If there's one thing about Matthew, similar to Samuel Ross, I don't think there's a camera Matthew Williams has not fucking pulled the Zoolander kind of pose on, right? He fucking loves the camera. He's not shy of taking his picture and letting you fucking see his grill. So Matthew Williams in the profile here courtesy of GQ, kind of speaking about his next chapter here and kind of maybe giving us an insight as to maybe why he stepped down from Givenchy, why now he's focusing on Alyx, even though the Alyx thing is interesting because before the Givenchy announcement came about, there was an announcement that he sold the majority stake in his brand. And Alyx was the brand that he launched kind of in collaboration with his ex-wife, kind of, not really, but that's kind of how it started. And I think if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of named after his daughter as well. So it's got a lot of, there's a lot of personal relationship attachment with this kind of brand, and it kind of launched his career, essentially kind of put him into the conversation to be considered for the Givenchy job. So I find it strange that he would sell the majority stake for his literal baby, but I guess maybe in terms of growing the brand and maybe expanding and maybe to the point where they have actual retail stores, maybe they start hitting different markets, maybe the manufacturing and production just ramps up in general, maybe you do need to sell the majority stake of the company to some foreign investor for it to kind of really get to the next level. So that might be the reason why, but let's read the article itself so you can kind of get an idea on what's going on for his next chapter. So courtesy of GQ, 2 weeks ago Givenchy announced that Matthew Williams was stepping down as creative director after a 3-ish year years. The departure had been rumored for some time, but I, for one, was surprised or at least disappointed by the news, myself included. Creatively, he had just hit his stride at the Audrey Hepburn-linked house, which he overhauled and reintroduced to a generation that bumps to Die-Lit rather than Moon River. As his predecessor, Claire White Geller discovered, 3 years is not a lot of time to turn around a battleship or Givenchy, but 2023 is a breakthrough Williams needed. His men's collection had a real sense of clarity thanks to the compelling blend of couture, craftsmanship, and SoundCloud styling. You know what's been really surprising though? I was surprised he didn't get more time when you consider how bad that Claire White Keller era of Givenchy was received by a lot of fashion people. Because looking back at it, it actually wasn't that terrible, but a lot of the fashion Twitter people or commentators out there that didn't like Matthew Williams, or also people that would that spoke quite negatively about the Claire White Geller era. So it's strange, really. It's really strange because the only really relevant era of Givenchy that people still kind of look back with kind of rose tinted eyes is obviously the fucking is obviously the Riccardo Tisci era, right? The Riccardo Tisci era was brilliant, but again, that was a bygone era. That's never coming back. Riccardo Tisci himself has kind of fallen off a cliff design-wise, so I find it interesting that Matthew Williams wasn't given a lot more grace in that respect. But anyway, continues. But it seems Williams has already been planning on building a vision elsewhere. The news of his departure broke just weeks after Williams confirmed that he had secured investment for a deal of his own brand, 1017 Alyx 9SM, with Hong Kong-based luxury tycoon Adrian Cheng. So I guess it's fair to assume the first retail store, the first brick and mortar Alyx store will definitely be in Hong Kong, right? We can definitely assume it'll be somewhere in Hong Kong or somewhere in Asia, most likely, right? It continues. Though I was rooting for Williams at Givenchy, okay, I just seen the score here. Man City won 3-2 against Newcastle, and the full-time tweet here says the Kevin De Bruyne show is back in town. That's why Arsenal are never winning the league, isn't it? Really and truly. Man City had this guy in a hyperbolic chamber. He was out the majority of the season. Kevin De Bruyne comes back and all of a sudden he turns around this match which they were losing at half time, gets them winning, and now most likely they'll probably win the league again. You know what I mean? That's the cruel reality of Man City. They just got too many good players. You know what I mean? Too many good players. Haaland is out. Kevin De Bruyne's on the bench. He comes on, scores the equalizer, and then I guess sets up the winner as well. It's just like, it's not fair. Anyway, continuing. Though I was rooting for Williams of Givenchy, it's hard to deny that Alyx might have been more energy behind it. A few months ago, I happened to run into Williams at the Dimes Deli in New York in Chinatown. Matthew Williams hangs out in Diamond Square. That's fucking hilarious. He was wearing Alyx and in town to celebrate the brand's ultra buzzy collaboration with Audemars Piguet. Outside the cafe, 220 somethings in town from Utah stopped to ask for a selfie. I didn't hear them mention Givenchy, but they were dressed in techno workwear that looked directly downstream from what Williams has been doing at his Milan-based brand since 2015. His most recent Alyx collection was also excellent, technically accomplished. Williams is a true nerd of fabrics and hardware and tapped into the real brands of U-Style. To be fair, when Matthew Williams did get announced as Givenchy founder, I think I said it myself on the stream, I didn't know why he took the job. As creative director, I didn't know why he took the job. I said I thought it would be much more beneficial for him to just focus on Alyx, because I generally, as much as I'm a big fan of Matthew Williams, I think it's really difficult for anybody, especially somebody that isn't formally trained, to balance two creative director jobs. It's kind of hard to do, almost impossible. That's why, the people that do them, or that did do them in the past, you think of people like, I can't think of it, comes to mind, I can't remember his flipping name, but the ones that have done them in the past have been heralded as some of the greatest designers in the world, because to be able to kind of, have two very distinctly different visions for two differently distinctive brands or houses, it's very difficult to do, especially season in, season out, with the demands, of designers have on them, with the fucking resort collections in between, with the collaborations or whatever it may be. It's just something that is inherently difficult. So I was never really that big on him taking a Givenchy job, but obviously, as a designer, as a creative, it's impossible to turn down that role. And obviously for him, it probably puts you in a whole different conversation. Maybe you don't get the investment from Alyx you know, without the exposure that the Givenchy role gave you. And obviously you learn a lot as well, right? Working, you know, with an atelier, working with working with couture but not showing couture might actually be beneficial also. And just the experience that you learn from working within that side of fashion with a capital F is definitely things that you can't really buy. So I understand why he did it, but I think in general he probably should have focused on his own brand, because I think Alyx has got far more cachet on the quote unquote streets. The kids care way more about Alyx than they do anything about Givenchy, really, for the biggest, you know, and until somebody actually comes in and actually revives that brand to a level that it probably deserves. I think most kids out there, especially kids that follow Matthew Williams as a person, I probably care way more about you know, Alyx as opposed to Givenchy, most likely. But again, I could be wrong. It continues. I didn't hear them mention Givenchy, blah blah blah. What's that? Though the terms of his deal with Cheng were not disclosed, the partnership could be a game changer for Alyx. Cheng, a young billionaire property developer and entrepreneur with a taste for art and fashion, might not be a widespread name recognition, but he's a heavy hitter. I just saw how heavy firsthand earlier, a few weeks ago in Hong Kong, where Louis Vuitton partnered with Cheng to pull off his epic pre-fall men show. Wow, so that guy was the one that did the show with them. He partnered with them to do that show that was on a boat or something. The runway abutted his K11 mall, a massive modern edifice of culture and commerce, and Cheng co-hosted the after party at an adjacent hotel he owns. So he did the runway show at a mall he owns, and the party was at a hotel he also owns. God damn, this Adrian Cheng guy is fucking balling. Let's see what this K11 mall actually looks like. K11, was it in Hong Kong, right? Let's see what this shit looks like, because god damn, he's balling. Hong Kong, right? Let's see what this fucking looks like. Come on, sir. It's in Hong Kong. Let's see what this shit looks like. It's got images. I'm guessing it looks like any other shopping mall, but I just want to see the scale of it. You know what I mean? Like the unadulterated scale of this mall. That's what I really want to see. Let's see here. The K11 Art Mall is a 7-story shopping mall. 7 stories in Tizim Sa Sui, Hong Kong, located in the masterpiece developed by New World Development and completed in December 2009. It is near the bloody hell, bro. Jesus, 7 stories, you know. 7 stories more. Imagine that. God damn. Okay, can we go to images? Can you show me the fucking pictures of what it looks like, please, Google? Is that possible? If I have to get an R1 and let it know for sure. Wow. This looks incredible, bro. It's just like a celebration of glass, right? Glass and steel everywhere. Loads of amazing lights. It's almost got these weird ball designs on the inside as well. I'm not too sure if these are lifts or if it's just like a separate cafe area, but I love these kind of internally protruding ball things on the inside of the actual shopping mall itself. Loads of natural light is coming in. It looks like a kaleidoscope prism and shit, with all the light that kind of leaks through, which is kind of cool. And of course, all the quality shops everywhere on the inside as well. But yeah, a 7-story mall is fucking wild, isn't it? 7 stories is like, god damn, how much shopping is enough shopping? But yeah, cool. So big up Adrian Cheng. So it continues. On Wednesday afternoon, Williams described his move as a restart in a way. A new era for one. He's moving Alyx to Paris. Wow, okay. So it's completely changing. Because I always thought that Alyx was based in Milan because of New Guards Group. I just assumed that Virgil Abloh, RIP, was involved in terms of helping him get, manufacturing, production help or whatever it may be behind the scenes. I always thought that was the reason, but I guess it's not. But that's moving to Paris. Okay, Williams joined the Zoom call from a table set for lunch, a leafy Parisian rooftop view stretching behind him. It was his lunch break, and the designer turned off his camera about halfway through so he could eat his meal. Williams has always expressed a curious mix of intensity and humility. He wears dark fashion and quotes Playboy Carti, but is also a mild-mannered dad. The former Lady Gaga collaborator, obsessive design mind, launched him to the top of the fashion establishment, blah, blah, blah. In Paris, his lunch is served to him on a fancy tableware. Okay, cool. Let's leave you a fucking interview. You're in this moment of transition right now. How are you feeling? How excited are you? I feel great. I'm super excited to have Alyx move to Paris. It's been my home for the past 3 years. So he's been traveling between Milan and Paris. Fucking hell, what a life, mate. Some people have it all good, innit? Jesus Christ. It's an amazing city. There's so much inspiration here. Also, great people to work with. Building a next phase of Alyx after almost 10 years is really exciting. I've always been very motivated and given lots of energy into Alyx, but it's nice to have the restart. In a way, sometimes when you're doing something for so long in the same system, there's not an opportunity to kind of reset, and it feels great to be given that and to kind of take it and learning from the past decade and then begin. He feels very enthusiastic and positive about it, but maybe I'm a little bit cynical, but I feel a little bit worried. If this guy is investing how much he's investing into the fucking brand, I've got a feeling that there's going to come a moment where he's going to want to kick this guy out and just do things his own way. Because when you put the money up, you're kind of the boss, in it. When you put the majority of the money up, it's basically your brand. And I would hate it for it to end that way. But Matthew Williams seems to be very, very enthusiastic about it, very happy about it. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a few years down the line you see him leaving Alyx and going to set up another brand because this Adrian Chen guy just takes over and starts to just, do his own thing there. I don't know. It kind of feels like it, but hey, who knows? Can you tell me a little bit about the decision to step down from Givenchy? I mean, Alyx is going to take a lot of my time and focus to push into the next chapter, so I want to be committed to Alyx and give it everything I need. It's going to take a lot of energy and love and care and support, which I've always given. You see, I don't like that answer because it's not the truth. Because the truth is, most likely, it's a mutual decision, but most likely Givenchy are the ones that didn't want to maybe extend his contract because he obviously didn't sell enough product, which is okay. I don't think it's a bad thing. Again, I'm a big fan of the guy as a designer, but I would love if there was a little bit more honesty in fashion when it comes to these sort of things. Like, if somebody got fired for gross misconduct, say it. Like, I know technically you can't, but, at least leak it or something. Like, not putting a cloud over somebody's head or making it seem like they did get fired because of gross misconduct or making it seem like they did get fired because they don't have the ability to design stuff that people want to buy. It's just annoying. You know what I mean? It's just not necessary. I would much rather a little bit more honesty. Like, what actually happened? Did you get fired because of your poor performance? Was it, were the sales targets unrealistic? Was there like internal beef? Did you maybe butt heads with some people, in head office that you probably didn't see eye to eye with, which I could really understand to be a thing, especially culturally and vibe wise. You could probably understand why maybe some people, some of the older folks maybe in Givenchy maybe didn't vibe with him too much, especially his vision of what Givenchy could be, especially when it comes to, focusing a lot on the black people and the black culture and stuff. Maybe a lot of those guys didn't like that. Who knows? But whatever the case, I would love there to be a bit more transparency and that sort of stuff, but hey, we'll never know. It continues. But did you find it hard in the last few years? Did you find it harder in the last 3 years to really give Alyx the focus and attention you wanted? He says, no. I had a lot of my attention. I was traveling to Milan a lot. I love the work that we put in over the past few years, but the kind of support that's being given also has to be met with a new energy, new challenges, and etc., etc. So he says he wasn't. So maybe that's why Givenchy suffered. Maybe he was spreading himself too thin. Maybe he was putting all his energy into Givenchy and all his energy when he was available into Alyx. And maybe something had to give. So maybe he's saying the truth. Who knows? Tell me more about this restart and why you're moving Alyx studio to Paris. Paris has become my home for the past 3 years and a half, and I love living here. My CEO lives in London. My kids live in London. It's just a nice proximity to everyone. Oh yeah, I think his kids live in London with the wife's new partner, which is what's his name? Blondie McCoy, in it, which is a bit awkward because I think they used to be friends, so that must be a bit strange. But I guess it's nice to be close to the family. But I think in general, when it comes to menswear anyway, outside of the streetwear bubble, Paris is a place to be. All the studios are there, all the showrooms are there. The biggest menswear show of the season is in Paris also. So it does make sense. If you're not like a North American based brand, you probably should be based in Paris, really and truly. It does make a lot more sense. Or maybe London's second, but London's a bit shit, to be fair. I know I live here, but London's kind of terrible. So if I had to pick somewhere to live, especially if I was, if I had a passion for fashion, it definitely would be Paris. It continues. What else is going to change? What's new about how you're approaching the thinking about Alyx? Being able to do retail now is really exciting, he says. You've come to showrooms or pop-ups that we've done over the years, so you had the moments where you could have actually feel Alyx in the space and its full collection. But that was really felt, but that was rarely felt at a wholesale level. When you would go into an account that we sold with, it would be kind of a piecemeal together. So I'm really excited for everyone to experience Alyx in full space. And to be able to focus more on some of the categories that I always wanted to expand on: accessories, jewelry, shoes. Being able to really move, show an offering of those categories is really exciting to me, sorry. And even launch to other zones. We've done stuff in music this year. I want Alyx to continue to be a brand that plays a lot of different spaces, cultural, and continue to use as a platform for the community that I love and support, and co-create space support. Okay, this definitely explains why he did the investment then, because this, you know, he's got different product categories he wants to move into in terms of accessories and jewelry and shit. There's obviously the option to have your own brick and mortar store, which is definitely going to happen. That's probably the first thing on the list. Most likely going to be in Hong Kong or somewhere else in Asia. And then, of course, there's the ability to do the other things as well, like the mixtape they put out recently and other bits and pieces that can only be done if you've got some real big investment in you. Again, it's kind of proof again why fashion is such a hard industry to break into, because Alyx for me isn't some buster, you know, t-shirt brand. It's a legit fashion brand, a legit, maybe, I don't know, cut and sew, elevated streetwear, whatever you want to kind of term it, but it's an actual legit brand that sells stuff. And he couldn't just fund it himself through the sales or the profits of the company. There had to be external investment coming in. So it kind of shows just how expensive it is to run a fashion brand on a somewhat, you know, on that kind of level, especially if you have really big ambitions. It's kind of hard to do it without any big investment. That kind of explains a lot of why people do take investment when it comes to their brands, and why the ones that don't, you have to kind of give them a lot of respect, because it's really hard to not to do so. Right. You could say in recent years, Alyx has matured into the more of a lifestyle brand. I suppose retail is the final piece of the puzzle. How did the partnership with Adrian come together? We originally met through Days Media founder Jefferson Hack. Oh, big up to Jefferson Hack. That's a fucking OG. Big up Jefferson Hack. He might be part of the reason, or he's probably my muse when it comes to the return of indie sleaze. I remember I was obsessed with Jefferson Hack back in the day, but I'd read all these fucking interviews and whatever it may be. And then I still remember that legendary interview that he did with Show Studio, where the woman was grilling him super hard on there. It was kind of a combative interview, but big up Jefferson Hack, absolute legend. We originally met through Jefferson Hack in 2017, 2018. Adrian was visiting Milan and we met for dinner, and then we continued to become friends over the years. Adrian's really involved in the arts and a big supporter of the artists and cultural projects, and I already really admired that about him. I think he has incredible taste, so we hang out a lot and just talk about things that we're really inspired by. And he was visiting Paris and just came over to my house to catch up. I mentioned that I was speaking to different partners for Alyx, and he was like, oh, that could be cool to do together. Send me over the info. And then slowly the conversation grew into being that what it is today, but it began with friendship and mutual admiration for each other. So there's been a lot of inspiring conversation. That's quite cool, isn't it? They were friends. They were at home chilling, you know, wrecking up some lines together, eating some fucking salad, maybe doing some push-ups together, some burpees, and they decided, hey, you know what? Why don't I invest in your brand? I've got more money than God. Why don't I get involved? I love this. What learnings and ideas have you gained to bring in to Alyx from Givenchy? I assume the experience was informative. He says, yeah, I mean, he doesn't talk that well about Givenchy, does he? I've got a feeling it didn't end well. He doesn't really talk that glowingly about his time at Givenchy. I don't think it ended well at all. That's the feeling that I get. I don't think it ended well at all. I mean, yeah, it's been a massive experience for managing teams at that scale, working with traditional marketing, outdoor advertising, campaigns for magazines, and especially retail. That was just something I'd never worked in prior to Givenchy. And so all of that experience has been huge. I mean, the level of accessories that I was making there, the control with women's wear, the shoes, the jewelry, all of that, and the skill set was so ramped up. The ability to create with the engine for so many years, I learned so much. Okay, cool. Again, not a lot spoken about, you know, the great people there, but the learnings were there. Cool. So let's see if that elevates fucking Alyx. It continues here. One thing I've been thinking about a lot, it's not super directly related to the transition, although it kind of is Bin Trill. You, Virgil, Heron Preston really defined an era of American fashion on a global stage. In your mind, how did the experience of being in Bin Trill shape what you do and how you got to this moment? You know what, right? I hate that you answered it that way, but you have to give a lot of respect to that Bin Trill era, because those guys were able to achieve way more than what Bin Trill kind of looked like you know, at the time that it came out. Like, I don't think anybody, maybe even themselves, could have ever envisioned that they would get to the pinnacle, the top of the fashion pyramid when they were doing this sort of shit, right? When they had this bin trill, this drippy, you know, Comic Sans type of font on shit, when they had the hashtags, when they had the fucking hats and you know, the Chief Keef merch, the Travis Scott shit, like some of the DJ activations. I don't think any of these guys could have really seen a future where the bin trill thing would have taken them to, you know, becoming the force of nature they were. Whereas Virgil, you know, obviously RIP to him, becoming the flipping creative director at Louis Vuitton, and obviously building from fucking Off-White, Justin Saunders, turning fucking Jound into one of the biggest brands out there and one of the coolest kind of, you know, collaborator incubators that exist, from fucking Matthew Williams doing his thing with Alyx and then going to Givenchy, Heron Preston, who I've never really thought of as a fashion guy, getting into fashion for the first time, then building up his brand to be really popular, and then now recently I think he got appointed as, I think, the head of some H&M project or something, right? And then before that he was doing the Gap thing. So everybody here really did amazingly well for themselves off of the back of a really kind of basic I wouldn't say ugly, but a brand that didn't really age well. You know, it was really kind of for the moment, it was kind of more of a cool cachet cultural thing. None of the stuff they did was really kind of pushing the envelope of design, really, for the most part. Maybe some of the graphics were cool, some of the activations they did. I remember they did the activation actually inside some like store, like a kind of like a in-shop store thing in New York somewhere. That was kind of cool. But again, nothing was kind of, you know, nothing was crazy amazing in terms of the design they did, but the success they were able to achieve off the back of that really doesn't get spoken about enough. And I hope somebody does make a documentary about like how much these guys were able to achieve off of the back of, you know, starting from this sort of platform. It really is an example as to, you know, the only limits to your, you know, ability to succeed are really within your imagination. Really is. Like, if you can, you know, take in what they did here, like look at this Bincho Diamonds shirt, like, you know, this is awful. Like Bintrill, the hashtag on the diamond, like, this is disgusting, right? But somehow this shirt was one of the launching pads that took them to where they're going. So big up Bintrill. But obviously, for some reason, I don't know what it is about these designers, but they always do this. Whenever they ask them these type of questions, it's as if they're ashamed of their origins. Whenever they ask one of these streetwear guys, oh, when they finally get into fashion, oh, how did the streetwear journey help you to get this fashion job? Like, not really. I don't make streetwear. It's like the same with this. Like, now, how did Bintrill help you? How, you know, the transition, how did it inform you? I don't really see it as part of my stepping stone in my fashion career. Like, come on, Matthew Williams. Come on, Matthew M. Williams. Let's be for real. Would anybody have known who you were without Bintrill? Bintrill then led to Alyx. Alyx then leads to fucking Givenchy. Come on, brother. Let's be real. Obviously, the Lady Gaga costume design era was obviously really important too. But let's be trill. Like, let's be trill, actually, right? It started from Bintrill, then it went from Alyx, then it went from... Don't say it's a bad thing. But maybe he's just ashamed of that era because the design was so shit. I don't know. But his answer is, I don't really see it as part of my stepping stone in my fashion career. It's really something fun I was doing with my friends, and it was about music and having people of similar interests come together in a shared space and a shared environment. It wasn't about DJing for money or even social media or whatever it was. It was just we just wanted to hear music that we wanted to hear when we were going out. It was very pure, and that's what I really loved about it. I went to Berghain a few weeks ago. Oh wow, hello, Matthew Williams in Berghain. Yeah, nice. And it was so nice to be there with nobody having their phone out, everyone dancing. It's so rare to find a space where people are actually all dancing and present together these days. Everyone is so on their phone, and so if anything, I think that was so great about Bintrill was it was a party that everyone was welcome to. It was playing music that was really just living on the internet for the most part and playing in the physical world. It was really using Bintrill as a platform to do collaborations with the brands and people that we love from a fashion perspective. Doesn't this sound like a fashion stepping stone? None of us really designed anything, but it was something that wasn't so precious. It was really free. All ideas were welcome. He starts off this answer by saying that it wasn't a stepping stone, but then he explains why it was a stepping stone. It's like, come on, Matthew Williams, man. It was a vibe. But I do agree with him, obviously, about the point about Berghain. That's obviously one of the main reasons why people like myself are obsessed with that club, because there aren't really a lot of spaces that you can go to where people aren't just obsessively having their phone out, especially when it comes to like a entertainment-y type arena. It's just really difficult to go to places where people are just really kind of present and in the moment. So that's part of the reason why that club is so amazing. Obviously, the design of it, the architecture, the sound system, the DJs, all that flipping add to it. But for sure, the element of just taking away your phone, and again, this is the thing that's funny about it. They don't take your phone. All they do is cover your phone lens camera, and they say to you, if you take that shit out and try and take a picture, you're getting chucked out and you might get permanently blacklisted. So that is obviously a fear. And because it's so hard to get in, why would you then get yourself chucked out because you want to take a selfie? It doesn't make any sense. But they don't even take your phone. They just cover the lens of it. But because they cover the lens of your phone, it almost makes it, it almost makes it redundant. It doesn't exist as a smartphone because it doesn't have a camera anymore. Now the camera doesn't work. Its camera is covered by a sticker. Now it doesn't really count. So you just, you don't bother using it. That's obviously the funny bit about that. But I do love that he mentioned the stuff about hearing music out in the clubs that you would never hear. And I think that's one odd thing that I don't really understand about club culture in general. And maybe that's more to say about the music that's been produced. But I always found it interesting that, especially in London even, there's not a lot of nightclubs you can go to where you can hear somebody playing music that you hear on the internet. Like, there's not a lot of clubs I can think of, even club nights, that if I want to hear Playboy Carti, if I want to hear Destroy Lonely, if I want to hear, I don't know, whatever, Yeet, all these type of artists, there's not really places I can go to where I can hear it. You kind of have to do it yourself. You kind of have to just figure out, okay, cool, I can't hear this stuff out. I'm just going to create my own club night. But it doesn't really exist a place to hear it. And I don't know if that's more of a reflection on the music itself, not really kind of, not really maybe working in clubs, that's why people don't play it, or maybe just the demand isn't there. I don't really know, but I always found that very interesting. Like, you can't really find spaces where you can hear that stuff played on a lot. If anything, a lot of the clubs, especially in London, that play hip hop, they mainly play a lot of old shit. Like, when I say old shit, I mean like stuff up until like 2015, 2018. They don't really play a lot of like the current stuff now. Like, if a new album drops, and it's got a banger tune that everybody's fucking, salivating over on social media, you'll rarely hear it the following week, in a club. You don't really hear it a lot. It's not really a thing, which is really bizarre. And I wish that would be different, but it's not. It kind of is what it is. But let's continue. Did that party at Berghain remind you of Bintro parties? Come on, bro. That's how you know you're talking to an American journalist. A Bintro party is not like a fucking Berghain party at all. A Bintro party is like any other influencer, activation, store launch party that exists, right? Where people have their phones out and they're fucking taking pictures and they're all fucking, in the moment, trying to, trying to make a moment at the moment. Like, it's all about them, all that sort of nonsense. That's what it is. And it's all about being seen as well. Whereas, Berghain raves or raves of that ilk are mostly about the music. They're mostly about surrendering yourself to the, to the environment, being quite present and just fucking dancing your face off and not really giving a fuck. That's what most those parties are actually about. So they're kind of different, and of course, Bintro parties are like kind of commerce as well. It's a different sort of vibe, right? It's mostly like a commerce type thing. It continues here. No, it didn't. But I had most fun I've had in many years at Berghain, and that was because everyone was present dancing. They were there for the music. It was pure. It was super special. It was something super rare. I don't know where else in the world you could do that, where you could go and do that anymore. And again, that's a sad thing about it. That's why, as much as it's great to go places at Berghain, I sometimes don't like going there too often, because it can make it really hard to party in places that aren't Berlin, especially in London, because it's the complete opposite of that place. It can make it really, really hard. It kind of sets your expectations really high. It kind of makes you feel as if like all places should be like that, but really and truly, they can't, right? For much as I love Berlin, you can't really copy that lifestyle in London. You know, people here would die if they were able to party from Friday to Tuesday. They would honestly die, myself included. They would actually RIP. It wouldn't work. So I think the fact that that place exists and it's there and it's in a bit of a bubble is great, because if you want to pop in and visit there, you can. But for the most part, I don't think the rest of the world could handle that level of debauchery, that level of that level of just nightlife, that level of party, that level of drugs, that level of drinking, that level of music anywhere else. I don't think it works, but I think it works there because it just works there. Are you going to do are you doing an Alyx show in January? What's the immediate plan? No, I don't know when our next show is going to be. Why is that? There's just a natural period when we're doing business transitions like this and moving things to another country. So it just makes sense for us to do it another day. Cool, I like that. But going forward, you'll be showing in Paris this year. What do you next couple of weeks have in store for you? How are you finishing up the year? I'm going to Hong Kong on Sunday to do a pop-up for the Nike Air Force One collaboration at K11 and spend time with Adrian. And then from there, we're going to go to Bhutan. What's up in Bhutan? I'm going to find out. I'll let you know. Okay, cool. He doesn't seem like the most chatty person in the world, but still, drop some good knowledge. Yeah, big up Rodeo Brito. Big up my guy Rodeo. But yeah, big big up Barbie Long. Big up Barbie Long. What's good? But yeah, Matthew Williams sounds a funny guy, interesting dude. Again, I think the Alyx sale has been explained here. Basically, he wanted to grow the brand. He wants to open retail stores. He wants to expand into accessories and other product categories that he probably couldn't do himself because it just requires way too much investment and capital to put into it. And obviously, now that he's experienced the Givenchy side of things, the fashion with a capital F, I think he's realized the grass isn't actually green on the other side. I think a lot of these guys, I think they do sometimes, put fashion world on a pedestal. I think they kind of take their brands for granted. They don't look at their brand as the equivalent of a Givenchy. They just see it as like a mediocre, a mediocre kind of copy of those type of things, when really and truly you're making your own history, you're creating your own legacy, you're setting your own standards, you're writing your own story with your own brand, and you can kind of do it any way you want to do it. So actually, putting those brands on a pedestal is actually not a good thing, because you're basically an employee. If they want to get rid of you whenever they want to get rid of you, they can. You don't really have full creative license, really. The parameters and the kind of the things that you have to kind of hit to kind of keep your job necessarily don't really align to creativity and full expression. They're mostly business things. There's obviously the element of working for a company and having to be a good employee and get along with people, all these type of things that kind of aren't necessarily based on just the work that you do, that can hamper or affect your ability to succeed. So really focusing on your own brand probably is a way to go, because you've got more options to kind of live there. You're a bit Wingus Dingus.
35.
Wingus McDingus.
This YouTube content is truly commendable, and I must applaud them for the fantastic work. I was introduced to this content this week, and I genuinely appreciate and derive great satisfaction.
This meme is so funny, man. This meme is never gonna end. This meme is so good. This YouTube content got me. It's never gonna die. I hope it never dies. I hope that meme never fucking dies. 35. This YouTube content. But big up Wingus McDingus. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. But yeah, last thing I wanted to mention about this. This is another example as to why I think you have to give Supreme a lot of props. Supreme started off, they did a little bit of wholesale, a tiny bit of wholesale when they started. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were kind of sold in the original kind of Union store, and a few other stores around the world as well, right? But for the most part, they've always only sold it within their own retail stores, their own brick and mortar stores, right? They started a very small one store in New York, and then of course, slowly but surely grew and expanded. And I think, apart from Supreme being the premier streetwear brand, and obviously in a league of its own, I think part of the reason why Supreme has been able to last this long at the top and maintain this level of appeal has been because they were able to create their world, create their ecosystem, create their environment from minute one. They already had a store. They already was able to create an aesthetic, a vibe about the brand based on the people that worked there, based on the music that was played, the interior design, where the stores were located, the pictures, all this sort of shit revolved around being able to craft and kind of build your own world that people had to then visit. You couldn't get the Supreme experience in like a retail mall. You couldn't get it in like a random store somewhere. You had to get it by going to their retail stores. And that kind of pilgrimage, because like myself, before Supreme was listed on, the Europe side of things, because the US store has been open for a while, but the Europe thing wasn't really wasn't always there. You had to kind of travel to the Supreme stores if you want to buy stuff or get stuff delivered to you via proxy. But when I first kind of made the quote unquote pilgrimage to the New York store, it really was something. It really kind of gave you a tingly kind of feeling to be able to finally go to the store that you only saw in magazines and magazine scans and YouTube videos and whatever it may be, to finally be able to step into that store and hear the fucking music blasting from the speakers, see all the skaters that you see in lookbooks and kind of campaigns that you'd see modeling some of the things in there, see all the other characters involved with Supreme and the team behind them and stuff, and the cultural scene and stuff, and the art world, design world, all that stuff being around there and stuff. All that stuff kind of added to the actual brand. So I think a lot of these brands nowadays are realizing that as much as it's great to start your brand off, being sold in all these big department stores and retail chains and shopping malls around the world and shit, and having it be on the same rack as as Balenciaga and all this sort of nonsense. I think actually having your own retail store where you can actually tell your own story is actually far more important than having your brand stocked in a million different stores around the world that don't exactly align with your vision and aren't exactly focused on trying to highlight your brand in the best possible way. Because no matter how big your brand is, if it's in a retail store somewhere, it's just going to be on a rack, right? It's not going to be displayed the right way. It's not going to be merchandised the right way. It's just going to be another t-shirt on a rack. So if you actually do want to tell a better story, if you actually do want to display it in a far better light, you just need to have your own retail store where you can actually tell that story. But obviously the risk is retail stores are really hard to get right. They're really hard to make work. The investment is crazy, and there's no guarantee that even if you do tell the story right, that people are going to give a shit. So that's obviously the risk. But I think brands are now seeing that risk is probably worth to take in the long term, because that retail store thing really does separate you from everybody else out there, because you're able to kind of, like I said, create your own little world that people have to go and visit, have to kind of immerse themselves in. And you could obviously have other things, attached to it, like, store launches, magazines that you sell in there, books, coffee, whatever the fuck you're doing, the DJs that play there in the corner, artwork on the walls. All these things can kind of inform the brand and kind of allow people to see the clothes that you have available on a rack in a different light. Because maybe there is a lot of work that goes into the hardware design of Alyx stuff. Maybe there's a lot of brainstorming and ideation that goes into some of their graphics, that goes into some of the buttons they choose on their jackets, the zips, the finishes, you know what I mean? Whatever it may be, but you don't see it because the jacket is just listed on the store somewhere, or it's just on a rack somewhere. But maybe with the actual own retail store, you can actually tell those more interesting stories and give people an insight into what kind of goes into making some of your pieces, so they have a different appreciation for it, and then they have a different sense of loyalty to the brand, and it can be one of those brands that they can kind of grow old with over time. That could be a thing. But big up Matthew Williams, really, really cool interview there with GQ. Moving on, I have to give a big shout out to Michael Bibi. It seems like Michael Bibi has come over the worst of it. Unfortunately, I think maybe a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, he got diagnosed with a brain tumor, and it was looking kind of peak for the guy. But now it's been kind of announced here, courtesy of his Instagram, that he's now on the other side. He came back for a comeback appearance that he did in Ibiza. We was able to perform once before there, as you can say there, One Life Live It, which with a big smile on his face over there at DC10 in Ibiza. That was amazing to see him there performing. And then of course we've got another pictures here as well of him in the hospital saying, enjoying life, thank you for everything that gave me the strength to get here. You see another picture of him again outside the hospital where he was on the beach here, obviously post recovery, trying to get his bearings and stuff, relaxing and stuff, all this nice images of him. And then we've got some other pictures here also. says, courtesy of the caption, says the final battle. After many months of fighting, today I start the last phase of treatment by having the bone marrow stem cell transplant. If it all goes well, this will be the final yet toughest part of my journey. It will hit me hard and could take months of recovery, but the end goal is 100% cancer free. I pray every day that goes smoothly and I'll be out of hospital with you all again soon. Wish me luck and see you on the other side. So that's him obviously going through his treatment there. So big up Michael Bibi. And then we got another one here that announces that he's cancer free. It says here, cancer free after 6 months fighting. I leave the hospital officially in remission with no cancer in my body. To every person that sent me support, energy, strength to fight, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. To the staff at the Royal Marsden for literally saving my life, I will forever be in your debt. Thank you so much. I'm still very tired. I'm on a lot of meds. My body hurts. My hair is gone, but I'm excited to get home, process and heal, and prepare for the future with you all. So amazing to see. Like, honestly, it was, you know, when you hear somebody getting a brain tumor, you rarely, you know, really see a good outcome on this. So the fact that it ended the way it ended is absolutely amazing. It goes to speak for his spirit. It goes to speak for his resolve, that he was always very positive, always, especially on social media, even at least, always with a smile on his face and kind of really kind of ready to kind of put up a fight and to make sure that he kind of put his best foot forward. And of course, now it's been shown that he's now cancer free and he's now on the other side of his journey of recovery and getting back doing what he loves best behind the booth and shit, which is obviously going to be amazing when he comes at it from a whole different perspective than he was obviously before, and a different level of appreciation from all the things that he was kind of fucking going through. So big up him. Honestly, it's amazing to see. It really fucking is. I think the video here at the end is of him obviously ringing the bell here in the hospital, you know, to announce that he's cancer free. Super happy to see that from him as well. So big up Michael Bibi. And then of course he also announced a special project happening. I'm sure it's some sort of show, a gig that's happening here called One Life. Michael Bibi Presents 2024. I'm not too sure if this means he's gonna be changing the outlook of his label and shit and moving things in a different direction, or if this is just a different or one-off show that he's doing. But he posted this on his Instagram recently regarding this One Life concert with this butterfly motif there, and maybe symbolizing the fresh new start of him being reborn or whatever it may be. Who actually knows? Let's actually wait for this to kind of load. The computer's being gay. Bear with me a second here. It says here 2024, a celebration of life, one life, live it. Link in bio. So I'm sure it's going to be some sort of event, a rave, I'm assuming, that he's going to be doing most likely. I'm eager to see what he's going to do going forward, because as much as I'm not a biggest fan of Tech House, it's no, you know, it's not without the realms of saying that he definitely was one of the better DJs within the Tech House scene. So his presence was missed out there, because he definitely was somebody that I think was basically pushing the sound forward and kind of, you know, he had a different sort of vibe behind the booth. Definitely was a lot of groove installed in the stuff that he was doing. So I'm curious to see what direction he goes in now post cancer. Post cancer and being cancer free, does he change his outlook? Is he still going to be doing Tech House? Is he going to decide to go in a different direction and do entirely different type of genre of music? Will it not be music? Will it not be DJing? Will he go down the artist route? Not really too sure, but I'm eager to see what he actually does going forward. It's going to be pretty cool to see here. So this is the first access. Be registered for tickets and events here. You can sign up for the pre-register of this event that he's putting together, most likely an event somewhere. So yeah, it should be a good one, I'm assuming. Most likely it'll be a fully immersive thing, maybe in a nice hot location somewhere. Maybe there'll be a lot of health and wellness attached to it also. Who knows? Maybe not, because that also happens with people, right? Well, after they get a cancer, after they become cancer free, sometimes it's not just, you know, going completely health and wellness nuts and only drinking green juice. Sometimes they do kind of lean back into all the bullshit they were doing beforehand, because, you know, when you're going through that treatment, probably the last thing you want to do is start eating salads. You just want to go back and start gorging on all the horrible things because you were not unable to do it beforehand. So I completely understand if that is the case and he wants to do that, especially considering how hard it's been for him probably the last couple of years and stuff, especially when you think about, you know, how hot his career was. I felt like Michael Bibi kind of got a bit of a blow up around the pandemic time, and that was also around the time that he got the fucking diagnosis. So just when he was really starting to go, he was really going sizzler. He was going really hot. He was really hot out there. Suddenly he gets a fucking cancer diagnosis. That must have been so gut wrenching. So it's good to see that he's on the other side and making amends, or coming around the mend, getting mended, whatever the fucking term is. And hopefully we'll see some hot new fresh stuff from him coming forward. Moving on from that, we got this recent post on the Reddit, on the techno Reddit. Honestly, the techno subreddit is legitimately one of my favorite places to go to. I love reading some of the threads on there, some of the posts, because I feel like sometimes I can be a cynical, annoying, negative asshole. But some of the things that people complain about on this subreddit are so funny to see people complain about. But some of the observations are really on point too. So the other day I was browsing and I saw this post, right? And I was like, oh, this person's over exaggerating. This post on the techno subreddit is titled as follows: just watch the recent Heron Sauna Boiler Room and check out DJ Saliva's DJ set. Perfectly good mixing, top-notch vibes, but the presenter decided it was a good idea to start emceeing over the set like it's some hip-hop stuff or something. Totally ruined the vibe. What happened to the old boiler room? Who thought it would be a nice idea to shout stuff like oh yeah during the entire set? It looks like the person has zero idea about electronic music culture. Never been to a single rave. I wish Opium Hum never left. And I guess Opium Hum is that really miserable looking guy that was always at Boiler Room telling people to move. Remember that dude? It's kind of main character syndrome, that guy. He'd always be telling people to move out of the way of the DJ, but he would always also be there himself. Like, you know what I mean? It was kind of a little bit annoying in that regard. But, I get it. But he did run a tight ship. When he was at Boiler Room Berlin, he ran a fucking tight ship. He ran that shit like the fucking Navy. Like, no random people in the DJ booth. Do you know what I mean? He run a fucking tight ship. So since he's been gone, because I don't think he works for Boiler Room anymore. I don't think so. I haven't seen him in the Boiler Room stream in a while. But since he's not on screen anymore and they've got other people introducing it, number one, the people that introduce it now are really cringe. Like the ones that introduce the DJs are really fucking cringe. They kind of feel like they want a bit of the fucking shine themselves. Like, bro, just introduce the person, turn off your mic and walk off the stage. We don't want to hear your fucking voice. You know what I mean? So, like relax. But, whatever. It continues. People call me a gatekeeper sometimes when I present my opinion about hard TikTok techno genre, but this stuff is completely ridiculous, and I think most of the ravers in the place and the world would agree with me that MCing has no place in any electronic music event, right? MCing has no place in any electronic music event. Now, when I saw this, right, my initial reaction was, this is kind of racist. This feels a little bit racist. This feels a little bit hard R-y. This feels a little bit get off my lawn. This feels a little bit thin blue line, right? This feels a little bit go back to your country. This feels a little bit when it's white, it's right. This feels a little bit Reebok Classics with white socks. This feels a little bit Palace Skateboards. This feels a little bit Stone Island without the badge, right? D-badge Stone Island jackets. This feels a little bit Umbro. This feels a little bit Lonsdale. This feels a little bit The Streets. This feels a little bit Mike Skinner. This feels a little bit, what do you call it? 1 pint of lager and 2 packets of crisp love, This feels a little bit Not Tonight, but then you let a whole group, like Not Tonight to the whole group of black guys queuing outside your club, but then you let a whole group of white guys in, This feels a little bit like No Trainers Allowed, then you let some white guy in with Balenciaga shoes in, or Balenciaga sneakers in. This feels a little bit like that. That's what I thought. That's what I initially thought. Then I thought, you know what? Let me actually go see the video. of DJ Saliva playing, right? Amazing name, by the way, DJ Saliva. Big up you. Love the fucking name. It reminds me of Ear Snot, one of the co-founders of fucking Iraq, that fucking, you know, very influential graffiti crew and now brand. I love, it's got a similar sort of vibe around it, right? DJ Saliva, Ear Snot. I kind of love the name. So big up DJ Saliva. Then I went to check the video just to see what this person's talking about. I was like, you know what? That sounds kind of racist, bro. It sounds kind of like hard RE. It sounds like you only want white people in the club. Then I pressed the video. I pressed play on the video.
Goddamn noise, everybody. DJ Saliva. Here we go, people. Let's get it. And join me on stage. Don't be scared. Join me on stage. Don't be scared. Join me on stage.
So, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right. Maybe they are right. Maybe they have a point in what they said. Maybe they have a fucking point. Maybe they're right. Right? Maybe they have a fucking point. Is it going to stop now? Are you going to stop or are you not going to stop? What's happening here? Maybe they have a point. I listened to that person saying, don't be scared, come on stage. Don't be scared, come on stage. I'm like, yo, can that bitch shut the fuck up? Can she shut the fuck up? Like, what the fuck is this? No, don't start rapping over my fucking electronic beats while I'm rolling on fucking MDMA. While I'm fucking trying to claw myself out of a fucking K-hole. I don't want to hear you saying, don't be scared, come on stage. Don't be scared, clap your hands. Like, what? Like, let me hear you say, woo, woo. It's like, no. Shut the fuck up. Don't ever do that again. Don't ever fucking do that again. Please, don't ever do that again. So maybe this poster isn't racist and maybe they have a point. Maybe MCing doesn't belong on an electronic music event, even though electronic music is kind of, you know, the basis, the foundation of it has a lot to do with MCs and rapping and, you know, live performances and whatever it may be, or just somebody with a microphone. Especially when you think back to some of the old, you know, house raves of yesteryears and stuff. So there is something kind of maybe quite coded around the ideas of maybe not having black and brown people around these parties. That's why some people don't really like the MCing thing, because I think if you're somebody that maybe is introduced to electronic music via the lens of, you know, the kind of the European lens of electronic dance music, maybe you don't really associate it with MCing and shit. But from the other side of things, especially from the North America side of things, even places like here in the UK, the mic has been almost mainstay in DJ booths. Even here in the UK, there are pubs still that have DJs that play on fucking old CDJs that have microphones built into them, and they kind of talk over the tunes like you would hear somebody at a fucking radio station. It's almost kind of an intrinsic part of our kind of culture, but maybe in other parts of the world it's not. So when you see somebody with a microphone, it's like, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean? I completely understand it, but I think the rapping excessively over people's beats, especially sometimes I feel like on these boiler room sets, the DJs don't know. It's almost like a surprise. The host is like, you know, doing what they're doing, but then the host gets excited. That's the annoying. That must be the annoying thing. If you don't agree to it beforehand, if you didn't agree to it beforehand, and then the person just starts rapping over your set, I'm gonna be mad. I might punch you. I might turn around and punch you. Do you know what I mean? Or I might just pull out the fucking mic cord. I'm not having you fucking rap over my shit, and we didn't agree to this beforehand. That might be the annoying bit. But if you agree to it, I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, really and truly. I think maybe it kind of, you know, people are just maybe not, as you know, expecting to see it because all they know from a dance music event is seeing a DJ behind a DJ booth. They're not really kind of accustomed to seeing somebody with a microphone, and maybe the sound of somebody's voice actually snap it out of it. Because one of the things that might explain a lot of this is that a lot of people in dance music don't really like music that has vocals on it. You hear a lot especially when you go to places like Berlin, you'll see it. you see people not respond well on the main Berghain floor if somebody's playing tracks that has a lot of lyrics and shit. They don't respond, but they don't really like it. They want to just hear like beats, like droning hard, hitting you over the back of your head kind of beats. They don't want to hear somebody speaking or lyrics or singing, whatever it may be. It kind of maybe snaps them out of the mood. That maybe is part of the reason of it. Let's play a little bit more of this little sweat here. I want to see what else was said. They say more, don't be scared. Shoot more. Are you rapping here? Come on, rap then. I like how you're not rapping over that, innit? You can't rap over that, eh? It's too fast, eh? Hey. Why are you not rapping over that? It's too fast. Come on, let me hear your voice. Why are you not rapping over that? Let me hear your voice. Okay, I think this person's exaggerating. There's not much of this person actually rapping. Where is it? I don't see none of it. This is what I mean. Maybe intrinsically, dance music events are just not very much geared towards, inviting spaces for black and brown people, because the person's hardly said anything. Apart from that opening 5 seconds, I've not really heard much else. This is an exaggeration, isn't it? This is a big exaggeration, really, I think. Come on, man. You're hardly saying anything. Yeah, maybe this person just doesn't like blacks and browns, which is perfectly understandable. I think you should be allowed to not like people based on their color of their skin if you don't want to. I think that's perfectly fine. If you walk into a place, you're like, oh, too many niggas in here. You should be allowed to say that. You should be allowed to say that. Let's see what people are saying in the thread. Each to their own and everything. Some people like emceeing, and that's fine. Personally, I find it never adds anything to the set, and it's generally just corny. What? Do people not listen to, do people not listen to music? You've never heard somebody emceeing over a track and thought it sounded good. It never adds anything. This is insane. This is almost like saying that I don't find black people attractive, innit? I've never seen a black person that, that I find attractive. Black girls aren't hot. You know what I mean? It doesn't exist. The hair is too nappy. The bums are too big. You know what I mean? The lips are too big. It's like, what? You've never heard music with it, somebody that's like, isn't that just like all music? Forget emceeing. Isn't that all music? Singing or anything? Lyrics on top of beats and shit. You never heard it sound good. Anyway, the pretentious stuff associated with normal clubbing was one of the main reasons I started loving rave scene, and it makes me sick seeing that pretentiousness come into the scene. I agree with that person. MCing over drum and bass, MCing over techno. MCing over OG dubstep is fine by me too. So dubstep is okay, but techno is not. How does that make sense? I might have to isn't dubstep a faster isn't drum and bass usually a faster tempo than isn't drum and bass faster tempo than fucking techno anyway? I'm disturbed by this. I might get hate for this, but I quit listening to DMB because of MCs. Wow. Really? This person stopped listening to drum and bass because of the MCs. Live mixes were unbearable. I thought white kids loved fucking Flowdan and all those fucking rap MCs. I thought little fucking spotty white kids loved hearing these big black burly men spit in their really gruff, deep voices over these amazing industrial gritty beats. I thought they loved it. I thought that shit literally made their dicks hard. I didn't know they hated it. I thought they loved kind of, you know, living through these big black tough guys. I didn't know they actually hated it deep down. It's so bad. There's a festival I've gone to called Shambhala, and shitty MCs fucked up almost all the D&B sets. It's a crying shame. MCs nearly ruined it for Let It Roll last summer too. Wow. Never been a fan of... Okay, I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know there's a whole entire scene of people that don't like MCs in drum and bass. That's kind of like it's kind of like one of the fucking foundations of drum and bass, isn't it? It's MCs. Jungle, grime, garage, like it's one of the founding pillars of that music is MCs. So if you don't like the MCs, do you really like drum and bass? Like, does that make any sense? But a lot of people do say drum and bass is basically white people's jungle. So that might explain it. Maybe that's why. Maybe white people made drum and bass because they didn't like to hear MCs over jungle. And now that MCs are coming to drum and bass because jungle's not as popular as it once was. Yeah, maybe that's what's happening here. The blacks just keep following them around. Like, leave us alone. We don't want to hear your lyrics. We don't want it. Never been a fan of some dafty chatting over shit over techno sets. They can fuck right off as far as I'm concerned. Wow, man, the aggression. Boiler Room Berlin died in 2017 with their 6th birthday party. After that, they had a pause, redid the concept, and never came back the same. What a night, though. Literally sweat on the walls. I don't think they redid the concept. It just got played out, innit, over a time. It just is what it is. I don't think the concept got redone and that's why it changed. I just think Boiler Room just got played out. Even in Berlin, it's not as good as it once was. People obviously do say. The London one, I just think got shit because of corporate sponsors and whatever it may be. Do you know what I mean? Like, and obviously the people that they were booking were a little bit shit too. They weren't paying people, so maybe the options of the people they could book weren't the greatest. But I think it ran its course. It's still obviously decent in terms of a place to go to, especially for like a day party event type of thing as an attendee. Obviously for a DJ, it's an amazing fucking platform to go and kind of, you know, put yourself out there. But I think it's not a bad thing that it kind of, you know, went, you know, kind of, you know, overstayed its welcome. I think it's okay. It's perfectly fine. Another person says they've been doing that since the inception of Boiler Room, to be fair. I think I've read because sometimes an artist only allows early access or drop to exclusive track on other, they get a bomber by... Oh, what? Is that true? I think I read that it's because sometimes an artist only allows early access or to drop an exclusive of a track if it gets bombed, I guess, by the presenter. So they can't just be lifted and used elsewhere before official release. Pete Tong does it on BBC Essential. Okay, cool. So maybe the MCs are there on purpose to spit bars or to say something over a track that isn't released yet. That doesn't make any sense, to be fair. That's dumb. I know that does happen, obviously, on radio, but that's stupid. I don't think that's true. How annoying. What a pretentious loot tosser. Oh my God, I was there and was thinking the same thing. Please shut the fuck up. I gave Awakenings a vibe. Where was the Cloakroom dude? I hate to say it, but Boiler Room is primarily a YouTube video show now. People tune in expecting the best DJs doing their thing, but also some type of performance, which unfortunately includes MCing over music. It's like they're saying, which unfortunately includes black people. Whenever I read this, it kind of just makes me feel like they're talking about black people, which unfortunately means opening up the rave to black people. Obviously, the music, regardless of whether it's appropriate or the same genre or the beat, I always feel like people would rather listen to Boiler Room than watch it because it was primarily a DJ spotlight. That was back when it was an audio mix series first with the video kind of mix. These days it's long gone. You can't even download the audio mixes anymore. Oh, that's true. That's a very good point. Boiler Room is mostly a video show more so. But to be fair anyway, if you're recording a DJ mix for YouTube, you probably should be focused more on the video than the audio. Yes, you should obviously make the audio available, but if you're primarily recording it for video, you should focus on the video because the video can be, you know, video content is way more, what's your thing called? It's way more engaging than audio, I'd assume so, especially on social media. You probably get way more engagement, way more clicks having a video clip of yourself DJing as opposed to a SoundCloud, you know, a screen recording of your SoundCloud link and shit. I think so, most likely. Seriously, what the hell was that? Ruined the entire amazing set. Horrible. not worth it. That girl screwing up the Hector Oaks intro just because of her overwhelming blend of cluelessness and unwell. Oh yeah, true. That was a true one as well. The Hector Oaks intro was very true. Bruh, techno is dead since 2020. Everything got more and more popular, but went to steroids after COVID. And with live streams, look at the lineups now. Half of them started DJing after 2019. Yeah, that breaks my heart. I'm not gonna lie. For somebody that's been DJing since fucking 2010 to have people that have make it who are touring the world and they've only been playing since 2019 or 2020, it breaks my heart. It honestly breaks my heart. I'm like, what about me? What about me, man? Fucking hell. Honestly, there are people that legitimately are touring the world, like making hundreds of thousands per set, and they've only started playing in 2019. Can you imagine that? Boiler Room was the first to go because it was one of the first things. Even in 2018, no techno people wanted to be there. Exactly. I know Boiler Room is a pretentious event that you only go to be seen by others, to look like you're into techno, when in fact you're not really into it. You're just in it for the clout. It's probably techno gatekeeping, but at least in my Berlin bubble, going to Boiler Room is one of the uncoolest things you can do, and has been that way for many years. It's the worst of the techno scene condensed in one event, with many people with the main character syndrome. People say this, but all the big techno parties in Berlin also collaborate with them. Didn't they do a recent one with Whore and somebody else? I think it might have been like, I forgot what it might have been. There was a recent party that Boiler Room did with a few other brands. So people say this, that that was pretentious, but a lot of the bigger brands, promoters and stuff, still do events with Boiler Room. A lot of the bigger DJs, a lot of the bigger party promoter scenes and stuff and whatever, they still do sets and whatever it may be on there. So this pretentiousness thing is a bit strange, because I think people in the actual industry don't seem to care as much. But I also think this description could be used for clubs. Clubs are also like that now. People don't necessarily go into clubs for the music. They're mostly going there to be seen, for clout, for videos, for content, whatever. Even Boiler Room, even Berghain is becoming like that. People are now like, I feel like going to Berghain to take that picture of them standing in front of the club as they're coming out, or in the queue, or to upload Instagram stories with the phone covered so you can hear the music in the background, right? Everyone kind of does the same sort of thing. So maybe, you know, unfortunately, maybe all of these things have just suffered because of social media. It is what it is, right? Social media is kind of taken the joy and the real, you know, and the real vibes out of these things that we enjoyed prior to social media clout and recognition, and they've kind of made them, you know, a little bit corny. And it's unfortunate, but I think it could be applied to literally everything. I don't consider it gatekeeping. I'm not a gatekeeping stuff. I like just hating on the pop culture people. I'm seeing the reason I don't see much of it is things I like. I used to go out every weekend, but now there are sometimes several weekends of pop techno, and every event there's latex and leather. Yeah, that's for sure. That I agree with. The whole latex, leather, you know, fucking, what you call it, change choker thing, whatever it may be. I'm over that shit. I don't want to see any more fucking chokers. I don't want to see any more fucking harnesses. No more fucking wristbands. No more handcuffs. No more, enough of that already. Please. Such disrespectful comment to say MCs have no place in electronic music. If this was bad, it's one thing, but to generalize it, a stupid thing to say. House music without voices wouldn't be the same. Drum and bass without MCs, Prodigy without a voice was never reached the point that they did. Massive Attack, Daft Punk, The Bug, the list goes on. And too experimental, new stuff like Arca or EP like Lima or Katie's label are just incredible. The label of an MC is an art. Not everybody is really good in art. Same with the music. Exactly. But the person's reply is funny. Dude's going, "Ayo, make some noise," is art. What's up, Dallas? That's art, isn't it? That's art. Oh, mate, I fucking love how I love how much people in electronic music hate anything pertaining to black culture. I fucking love it. Obscene displays of wealth. You know, people shouting, people whistling, people getting excited in the crowd, MCing, like the hate people have for anything pertaining to actual expression and joy is fucking funny. I fucking love it. I swear to God, I really fucking love it. I absolutely love everything about it. They really do hate fucking black people out here in the scene, man. It's hard for a nigger, man. It's fucking hard for a nigger out here, bro. I just want to listen to my uts music, but I have to dress like these motherfuckers to get in. I have to sound like these motherfuckers to make them feel like I'm not gonna steal their fucking phones. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking annoying. It's fucking annoying. I swear to God, it is. And when you get there anyway, they still have all these fucking stipulations that you have to kind of abide by. It's absolutely frustrating. But what can you do? What can you do? Anyway, my friends, that has been the Agostinho Zinga Show, episode number 737. Thank you for tuning in. Been a pleasure to have your company as per usual. It's been a pleasure. Never a fucking chore. Never a fucking chore. If you've enjoyed the show, you like what you've seen, obviously, you can click the links in the description to see me and all that good stuff. If you're listening via the audio side of the podcast, you can like the stream, give it a nice 5-star review on whatever app you're using to listen to it, whether it's Overcast, Apple, Flipping Podcast, whether it's Spotify, whatever you use. Give me a 5-star review on that platform. That'd be greatly appreciated. And of course, links to all my socials and all that malarkey can be found in the description, as well as links to all the stuff I spoke about in the show. For now, my friends, goodbye, God bless, and I'll see you again very soon. Peace. Mm-hmm.